This is easy tutorial of knitting a scarf. All stitches and techniques are shown step by step in the video. This tutorial uses yarn, cable needles, stitch markers, scissors and a darning needle. Stitches and techniques used are casting on, right stitch, yarn over, knitting a yarn over, knit 2 together, knit 2 together through the back loop, slip 1 and binding off. Use timestamps in the video to navigate. In the video description there is a short written pattern of the scarf for those who prefer written pattern. We'll be using yarn and the knitting needles. At first, make a slip knot. The slip knot will be our first stitch and we'll cast on 6 more, so we'll have 7 stitches in total. Be mindful not to make the slip knot or the stitches overly tight, for those ones will be trickier to knit afterwards. Cast on stitches as shown in the video. Let's knit our first row. Wrap the yarn around your fingers and then we are going to slip the first stitch. So we're just going to remove it to the right hand needle without knitting it. Then we are going to knit the next stitch. Insert the needle to the first stitch and wrap the yarn around the needle and pull it through. Then release the original stitch. Insert the needle, wrap the yarn and pull it through and release the original one. This is what we are going to repeat. Insert, wrap, pull through and release. Next, we are going to be needing some stitch markers. You can use something like this, but loops of yarn work just as well. We are going to slip the first stitch and knit the next one. Then add the first marker. Then do a yarn over, just as shown. Then knit the next stitch and do similar yarn over here. Then add second marker. Then we'll knit one stitch and add another marker. Then we are going to do a yarn over. And knit one and do another yarn over and add the last stitch marker. The last two stitches we are going to knit. Now let's check our row. To be sure, we should have 2 stitches knitted, then stitch marker, then yarn over, stitch, yarn over, marker, stitch, marker, yarn over, stitch, yarn over, marker, and 2 stitches. On this side we are going to be knitting everything except this first one, that will be slipped. But the next one we'll knit, then we slip the marker and knit the first yarn over. Then we'll knit the next stitch and the next yarn over. And we'll keep knitting everything and slipping the markers over until we are at the end. On every right side row we'll be making yarn overs and repeating the same pattern to make them. There is 2 stitches in the both ends separated with the markers. That won't change. Also, the one middle stitch between the markers will stay separated. The yarn overs are always made between the first 2 markers and between the last 2 markers. And this is how it goes. Slip the first stitch, knit the second stitch, then slip the marker and make yarn over. Knit until you hit the next marker. Then do a yarn over and slip the marker. Then we'll knit the middle stitch and slip the marker. Then another yarn over, and then we are going to knit until we hit the next marker. One more yarn over, slip the marker and knit the last 2 stitches. Now we'll be repeating the right side row and the wrong side row. It may look a little hot mess right now, but after few repeats the shape of the scarf will become visible. We are going to make the decoration row on every 24th row. Instead of stitches, it is easier to count the holes on the edge of the scarf. When we knit one right side row and one wrong side row, one hole is created. 24 rows is then 12 holes. I am now in the middle of the wrong side row. I have now 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11 holes. On the next right side row we are making a yarn over that will create the 12th hole. So it will be our row to do the decoration. The beginning of the row will go as usual. We will slip the first stitch and knit the next one. Then we slip a marker, do yarn over and knit one. Then we are going to make another yarn over and knit the next 2 stitches together at the same time. Then yarn over and knit 2 together, just as we did. And this is what we are going to repeat until we hit the marker. Yarn over and last 2 stitches together. Then before the marker we are going to make a yarn over just as usual and knit the middle stitch and slip to marker and also make a yarn over as usual, but now we are going to knit 2 together and then repeat the pattern until we have 1 stitch left before the marker at the end of the row. Here we are, last 3 stitches. We'll do yarn over and knit 2 together. Then we'll do yarn over, knit 1 and yarn over. Then slip the marker and knit the last 2 stitches. The wrong side goes as usual. Knit all the stitches and all the yarn overs. After knitting the decoration row and the wrong side row after, I'm going to mark the 12th hole with a stitch marker. That will make the counting easier. After knitting 3 decoration rows, the height of our knitted triangle is 18 centimeters or 7 inches. With this height, the wingspan of the scarf will be approximately 1.5 meters or 59 inches. I've knitted the 3rd decoration row and 1 wrong side row after that. The next row will be the first row of the first wing. It is started just as usual. We are going to knit until there is 3 stitches left before the marker. Here we are. Let's knit until we have 3 stitches left. Now we are going to turn our work. Slip the first stitch. Then we are going to lift our working yarn over the needle to the back side of our work so that it lifts our stitch. It looks like there is 2 stitches now. Knit the 2nd stitch as usual and place a stitch marker there. Knit the row till the end as usual. Start right side row just as usual and knit until you hit the marker. This is the pattern we are going to repeat. On right side row we knit till we hit the marker. Then we remove the marker and turn our work. We slip one and lift the yarn back, knit one and place the marker back. Then we finish the row and start again. Start the decoration row as usual. Knit until you have 4 stitches before the marker. Repeat the pattern until you hit the marker. Remove the marker and turn your work. Slip and lift the first stitch, knit the second one and place the marker. Knit the row till the end as usual. Keep this pattern of the wing going until you have only 4 stitches left. Here's last 2 rows. Start as usual and knit until you hit the marker. Then turn your work. Remove the marker and slip and lift the first stitch. Then knit the second one and place the marker. Then knit last 4 stitches. Cut the yarn. Leave at least 20 centimeters or 4 inches of yarn for weaving in the yarn end, which we are going to be doing at the end. Now the second wing. We are going to start knitting a right side row at the end of our knitted triangle. I am using self-striping yarn and I prefer the coloring look even also there where the new yarn begins. Therefore, I am comparing the color of my knitting to the color of yarn in the skein. Then I just cut off some yarn and continue knitting with yarn that matches my knitting. Other than this, the wing is knitted exactly same as the first one. But let's go through how to begin with the new yarn. Here's how it goes. Take the new yarn between your left hand fingers. Let the loose end hang between your knit and your finger. Slip the first stitch and then just knit the first stitch with the yarn and continue as usual. The starting stitch will be a bit looser than a regular stitch, but it's okay. You can always tighten it up by pulling gently the yarn end. The final fix for the looseness is done when weaving in the yarn end. Here's the wrong side row. The stitch is loose, but try to knit it just as usual. It is easier to tighten the loose stitch up after. This step is totally optional, but you can easily add an effect yarn if you will. I knitted few rows and the i-chord edge with this pink thin thread. We haven't yet done the i-chord edge, but we are going to be doing it next. Adding the effect yarn is very similar to adding a new yarn. Take both threads to your left hand and knit them simultaneously as if they were one yarn. At first, I'm removing these first 2 stitch markers. If you would like to make the edging with another yarn or another color, this is the place to change the yarn. I'm making sure that the next colors in the self-striping yarn are something I like for the edge. Then I add my effect yarn and start knitting. The first 5 stitches are regular stitches. Then there is the first lifted one that looks like 2 stitches. We are going to knit it as one. From here, every other stitch will be one of those lifted ones, but they are knitted as one stitch. When you hit the middle of the scarf, there will be 3 regular stitches before the middle stitch and 3 regular stitches after it. After that, the first stitch is a lifted one, and so will be every other stitch from there until you hit the last 4 regular stitches. Knit till the end of this row and then we'll make the i-chord. First, we have to cast on 3 new stitches. Insert the right hand needle to the first stitch as if to knit and pull the yarn through, but do not release the original stitch from the left hand needle. Pull the yarn loop a bit longer and place it to the left hand needle. Now we have 1 new stitch. Let's make 2 more in similar manner. When knitting the i-chord, we are repeating 2 steps. Step 1. Knit 2 stitches. Then knit the next 2 stitches together through the back loop. Step 2. Place the 3 knitted stitches back to your left hand needle. Then just repeat these steps. Knit 2 together through the back loop and put them back. Continue this until you have 3 stitches left. Last 3 stitches we are going to bind off. Slip 2 stitches to your right hand needle. Lift 1 stitch over another and off the needle. Then slip the last stitch to your right hand needle and again lift the other stitch over it and off the needle. Cut the yarn and pull the last stitch so that the yarn comes through. There are many ways to weave in the yarn ends, and this is one of them. Take a sharp darning needle and insert the yarn end to the eye of a needle. See here how I accidentally cut my yarn end too short. I can still manage, but it is easier with a bit more yarn. There is really no rules for this. I like to mimic the knitted stitches to make the tip of the scarf look more even. Then I just stick the needle into my knitting and try to puncture the knitted yarn as I go. That way the yarn end will also stay in firmer. Then pull the needle through and cut the yarn. Do the same to all your yarn ends and your scarf is finished. Remember to take a moment to admire your work. This is easy pattern to modify by just changing a needle size or yarn weight, or making the original triangle bigger or smaller before starting the wings. Self-striping yarns and solid colors both work nicely with the pattern. Now thanks for watching and happy knitting!